Yo, what's up? Since the release of the new Enlisted version got postponed again, after numerous delays, many people are wondering why the hell do we get a merge anyway, and what exactly is the Enlisted merge? So let's dive into this topic. Summed up quickly, Enlisted in its current version is a game that consists of 6 separate parts, meaning the 6 campaigns, and every player that starts the game chooses one campaign usually and grinds himself up in this campaign, either neglecting other campaigns to get high levels in this one campaign, or he jumps around campaigns, which means he will have to grind a lot, and even after numerous hours of grinding, he will only be quite low level. Also, if you focus yourself on one campaign, you are able to focus all of your expenditures with in-game currencies to get high and strong items in this one campaign. But if you want to play all the campaigns or multiple campaigns in Enlisted, you have to spend additional amounts, a proportional amount of currency. And this means that for new players, the current 6 campaign version is very unfriendly. New players who want to experience multiple theaters of the war and multiple or even maybe all maps that the game features have to inevitably play different campaigns. But this is simply unfeasible with the amount of time normal people have. Also with the amount of currency or real money they want to put into the game. So this basic new player unfriendliness needs to be solved in order for this game to grow. Right now it's simply impossible for Enlisted to grow, and I can also tell out of experience, all the people I recommended to try out Enlisted, they got basically instantly, after 2 hours of playing it, they didn't want to play it anymore, because if you compare it to other games, it's simply just lacking. It's literally just lacking. It's one of the most new player unfriendly games I've ever experienced. If you already spent a couple dozen or hundreds hours in the game and you watched up some guides and you know what the good tricks are, what the fast shortcuts are, then it can be good. But for new players, it's simply horrible. And even if you are a player who is willing to put in lots of time into the game, guess what? Let's say you start with Moscow, the chronologically first campaign, and you are playing around the year 41, and you're unlocking all of the German swag, you're unlocking all of your bolt-action rifles, your semi-autos, your SMGs, your machine guns. Alright, you unlocked everything, and let's say after getting even premium and spending 1 to 2 months of playing every day 2 to 3 hours, you finish the campaign. Let's say you want to spread out into Normandy. Once you try out this new campaign, you will see that all of the work that you put in Moscow, all of the weapons and technology and tanks and planes that you unlocked, you literally have to grind again. You literally have to do the same exact work over again, and you literally have to buy exactly the same things over again in order to get them. And this is just something that people see as completely nonsensical. And obviously, no one wants to accept that. Like, why the hell should you unlock the same things in the same literal game once again and even buy them once again? It just doesn't make any sense at all. And no matter which rationalization Darkflow comes up with, this is one of the main reasons people just don't want to play the game. Because I've never heard about any other game where you have to unlock and grind the same things multiple times. It just doesn't make sense. This splitting of the player base into 6 different campaigns leads to a significant statistical problem. Many people expect the player base to be evenly distributed among these campaigns. Now, here's the first problem. This won't happen. Even if you design the game in a certain way to incentivize people to be evenly split up, it won't happen because this is not how statistics work. If you have separations among something, like 6 campaigns in one game, it is statistically completely unexpected to be all of them equal. They will fluctuate, meaning some will be higher, others will be lower over time, and they will jump around with one that's more populated today, gonna be less populated in a couple weeks. This is completely normal. Things being equal is not normal. Things being unequal, this is normal. This is absolutely normal. If you look at the universe, you can look at 100 or 1000 galaxies, compare them to each other. you likely, like even if you look at 100,000 galaxies, very few will be very even. You will get lots of different things. But if you look at the average values of these 100,000 galaxies, then you will find, oh, if we look at the average weight, if you look at the average number of stars, if you look at the average luminosity and other things, well, the average is exactly what we expected to be the average value. Yeah, so this statistical property is important to understand. If you split something into pieces, the pieces themselves won't be even. There will be always some fluctuation. And this explains perfectly why the campaigns in Enlisted are not balanced. You will constantly have fluctuations of the player base, not only among the campaigns, but specifically among the factions. And therefore you will rarely get balanced campaigns and factions in Enlisted with the 6 campaign system. There will always be, in most cases, not always, but in most cases, you will find on most campaigns one faction dominating the other, leading to imbalanced games, meaning imbalanced games is the normal state for Enlisted, the way it is designed right now. But this 6 campaign system also leads to the problem that for many players, the vast majority of game features is basically hidden. Because unless you unlock huge parts of the game in different campaigns, you simply can't experience the different types of weapons, vehicles, and maps, and so on. And this just sucks, and many people don't like it. And the worst thing in that is even that if you buy premium stuff right now, if you buy premium vehicles or squads, you usually can play them only in the one specific campaign you bought it for. So you can literally buy a $50 or $60 premium squad, and you're only allowed to play it in 1/6 of the game. Have you ever heard of a game where you spend $60 for, and you can't even use it? You can't even use it in over 80% of the game? This doesn't make much sense. In terms of monetization, the current system doesn't make sense. And I constantly hear lamentations about, oh, how Darkflow people need more money, they deserve to get their bread. Dude, first of all, companies don't deserve anything. They deserve huge profits if they create huge quality for its customers. But there's no thing as I deserve something, especially not if a company can make millions in profits but fails at delivering quality. So in this type of monetization just doesn't work, and the company can't expect huge profits if the product itself is completely unattractive like this. So even the alleged main income of Darkflow, the sales of premium squads, isn't working as it's actually intended to be, or as it would work in other games. If you compare it to Counter-Strike, if you buy a skin, you get to play it in literally every single game. In every single game you will be able to... The game is even designed in a way that no matter for which side you have your skins, even if you buy your skins all for one side, you will get at least one game on the other side. So it's literally impossible to not use your skins in Counter-Strike. But in Enlisted, you can spend thousands of dollars on the game. If you just go to another campaign, to a new campaign, you won't get any out of the stuff that you bought to play. This just doesn't make much sense. And what about customization? Same problem. You buy a customized item, you buy a face or a helmet or a jacket for a soldier. Congrats, you can only use it here, you can't switch it over to somewhere. And the thing is, even if you buy something like that, you still have to unlock it in other campaigns. It's literally just brain dead how completely unflexible everything is. Like if a company wants to sell items, especially very overpriced items, as many people would say, you have to make it as comfortable and as easy as possible for the customer to buy. Guess why Amazon was lauded as genius 20 years ago or 15 years ago when they invented the 2-click buy mechanism. Other companies, if you wanted to buy something on the internet, required you to click multiple times, to fill out multiple forms. On Amazon, for a specific time, you could just click 2 times and you can complete the buying of an item. This is comfortable. Yeah, this is very comfortable. Enlisted, It's quite complicated to buy, by the way. I wanted to buy some squads when I was very new to the game, and I noticed you have to do so much clicking, so much back and forth. It's not even easy to buy, even if you want to buy. And if you want to use the items in-game, it's even harder, yeah? But don't worry, this will be better after the merge, at least in theory, as we're gonna see when we start looking at the alleged advantages and the, well, currently proposed execution of the merge, because this leads to other problems. And the last problem with the current Enlisted version is that due to the player fluctuation, you get lots of bot-filled games. Now, I recently came to, after talking with some smart players, giving us, like, exchanging good ideas, to the conclusion that it's actually good for the game if the game isn't played 10 versus 10, but if it's played with a bunch of bots in each team. Let's say 2 or 3 bots in every team. Because many problems don't come only from having too many bots, but also from having no bots at all. For example, if you're playing low-level games, like with low-level equipments, games tend to be very comfy and relaxing. But if you're playing high-level equipment games, things are very stressful. You constantly have to run around, constantly have to look around, to constantly spray, to avoid getting sprayed, and so on. It literally becomes a sweat fest. And this reasonably isn't really fun for the vast majority of players. And yeah, you may be excited to play a game like that from time to time, but basically no one wants Enlisted to become a game where casual games have to be played like esports only because you're playing high-level weapons. And the solution for that is literally just give every team 2 or 3 bots, and then the intensity of the enemy team isn't as hard anymore. Yeah, you don't have to completely sweat all the time, because there are also some normal interactions where you don't get completely destroyed, where it's a little bit calmer, but there are also some harder interactions during the same game, and it just evens out to be more comfortable. So the problem isn't just having a few bots. The problem with the current system is if you have 8 bots in one team, or even if you have one real player in a team and 9 bots, but the other faction, your opponent team, is filled with real players, and then you're playing basically 1 versus 10. Yes, this isn't even uncommon, and this is obviously a complete problem. This is exactly why player fluctuation can be very problematic, because right now in the Pacific, it's usually 9 or 10 real American players, but it's usually 1 or 2 real Japanese players, and the maps are designed in a way that you really, really have to have all your rally points constantly, and it's impossible. Like, I uploaded a couple of games where I played 1 versus 10 and won, and quite easily, and it usually was in Moscow or in Berlin, where you can pull out with some very good plays and some high-level gear. You can just win 1 versus 10, and the maps also allow it. But Pacific maps don't allow it. Tunisia maps also don't allow it, and it just curb stomp after curb stomp. And yeah, this bot problem has to be solved. And the only thing that can solve it is also to combine the campaigns into a pool where the players aren't split on 6 different queues, meaning the 6 different campaigns, but where they are as close together as possible. So whenever you see there's a hole, there are too few players from one area can play against players from the other area. Also keep in mind, the split isn't even just the 6 campaigns, it's also the servers you're playing on. Because if you search only on North American servers, you can't play against Europeans or Eastern Europeans, so there's another split. So keep in mind, the splitting isn't just 6-fold, it's, well, 6-fold, and then among the 6, also once again 3 splits. And yeah, and this starts getting really problematic. So what's the big ingenious idea Darkflow came up with? Or more likely they just took over from War Thunder and tried to copy it, though with some implementation issues. The solution is all the campaigns get dissolved, and instead of different campaigns and 2 different factions in every campaign, we just get our 4 big nations. We get Germany, we get Americans, we get Soviets, and we get the Japanese. And little nations just get thrown together with the bigger ones, so the British get thrown together with Americans, and the Well, who else did we forget? Ah, yeah, the Italians. The Italians, who we always forget, get thrown in with the Germans, of course. Now, this system is not only very clean and intuitive, it also solves lots of issues, basically every issue that I just talked about in the last 15 minutes, but it also gives you extreme advantages in terms of flexibility, because before that, you couldn't just add a new weak weapon. Because where do you add it? Do you add it at the end of the campaign? As one of the last levels? Well, this isn't really that well working, because no one wants to unlock weak weapons or just fun weapons that aren't too strong at the end. Yeah? People already complained when it became apparent, even after the merge was announced around beginning of this year. People already start complaining when the last levels got new tanks, but the tanks weren't strictly better than the previous tanks. And people say, oh, why isn't this tank much better than the previous one? Yeah, here's the problem. It's understandable that you don't want to unlock something that isn't much better, but if you constantly only want to unlock stronger and stronger things, you're literally feeding power creep. And power creep is literally the worst thing that can happen to any game. Trust me, I played Magic for a long time, and power creep fucked up the game so hard that I only play very old school formats that don't change anymore, because they only allow old cards. Because it's annoying to play with new cards. And the new cards are ugly. So, yeah, this is the problem. And you don't want your World War II game especially to be ruined by power creep. Because guess what? World War II had some extreme power creep already in real life. Just simply compare the German weapon doctrine that 20mm cannons were defined as anti-tank weapons. But after the first contact with some underestimated French tanks, Germany learned, oh wait, 20mm aren't enough for tanks. And after seeing the first T-34s and especially KV-1s, Germany knew, alright, this bullshit doesn't work, we need some bigger stuff. And the only thing that helped Germans actually defeat these very well armored tanks are the 88 Flaks, who were used against tanks and planes and bunkers. They were actually used more often against non-flying targets. So yeah, you see, like in real life, you already had extreme power creep, but keep in mind, since Enlisted is constantly using prototypes and theoretical things who literally only existed on paper and didn't even have prototypes, you will get even additional power creep. Now, if the system itself also leads to power creep, like constant higher levels, it just will ruin the game. So it's really good to be able to just randomly add weapons in a tech tree, either at the beginning or at the end or at the middle, without having to constantly add stronger things. This is a big advantage. Also, it was very problematic to add stuff to lower levels in the current campaign system. Now, doesn't make much sense that it's problematic, but apparently it was problematic, so yeah, this problem gets solved too. Also, tech trees are really cool, because if you're new to Enlisted and you want to check out which weapons the game has, you literally can't do it right now, because you have to go through every single campaign, you have to click 1000 times, and click through every nation just to look at what they have. It's just annoying, and it's completely confusing, and it's also not really fun, because you don't even see what you get. But once you get national tech trees, you literally see everything a nation has to offer on one side. And that's as simple as it gets, and that's as comfortable as it gets, and also that actually is fun. Yeah, you download the game, you'd pick a nation you want to play, and you just look at everything it has. Or you just look at all the different of the 4 tech trees that you see from the 4 nations, and you just pick a nation you want to play. This is very intuitive, and this is very fast and easy to do. Also, merging all of the campaigns into just 4 different nations that are going to play against each other flexibly instead of being forced to play in artificial campaigns means that you have to grind less, because you don't have to unlock everything 1000 times, and overall your armies are getting cheaper, because you don't have to buy the same MP40 for 4 different armies. Now you can literally just buy it a couple of times, and congratulations, you have it. Yeah, if you play one German army, every single MP40 you get belongs to this one army. You don't have to buy it for separate armies anymore. So this is very important, especially once again for new players, because the costs of equipping and upgrading armies was ridiculous. And I've heard from many players who just play the game completely casually. They literally just play whatever randomly, and they don't really care about equipment. They don't really care about grinding high. They just play whatever they feel like. And these players have the problem. If you play like this, you literally get the most relaxed experience as long as you get remotely balanced games. But they can't get high level equipment because it would cost them literally dozens of euros every single month to get even a little bit of better equipment everywhere. So this doesn't work currently, but after the merge it will work. You don't have to pay as much. Now, the new economy for Enlisted obviously comes, and I already made a video about it and even 2 shorts where I explained the new economy, comes with increased prices for basically everything, but after a bunch of protest and good advice, the costs were reduced. So now I'm absolutely sure that the new economy is literally cheaper for players. Overall, it's just cheaper for players. So congratulations, Enlisted in-game will be cheaper after the merge. It will get so much cheaper that I stopped upgrading soldiers or weapons. I basically stopped it for a bunch of weeks because when I looked at the numbers, yeah, it will be cheaper to upgrade stuff later than right now. The only thing that's cheaper right now is to buy stuff and especially unlock vehicles, because vehicles are gonna be won't be for free anymore after the merge. Right now, if you unlock a vehicle, you instantly get a vehicle for free. After the merge, you will have to unlock it and to buy it. So that's why my strong recommendation, grind Berlin, either Axis or Soviets, preferably Axis because you can play them often, and get all of the high level, very expensive German vehicles for free, because they will cost you a lot after the merge. But the merge also comes with an important second big feature, and it's the introduction of battle ratings. Battle rating means every item in the game, or at least every weapon and vehicle in the game, gets a number which correlates with its strength. So the stronger your weapon is, the higher the number. And now you can separate all the weapons in the game according to power levels, and you can create different queues. You can create a low-powered queue where only people with low-powered weapon play against each other. You can create a mid-level, a high-level, and so on. Now this is the theory about battle ratings, and it's a very good way to balance out a game, and many games have something like that. But here comes the problem, because this type of battle rating, when you want to execute it and create a working game, comes with many different details that are very complicated to solve. And this is exactly what we're currently seeing since many months in Enlisted, and this is the main reason why the merge still isn't out. For a battle rating system to work out, first of all, you need to have many different separate power levels. So, for example, if you would split all of the weapons in Enlisted in only 2 different battle ratings, so you would have weak and strong, this wouldn't really help, because let's say you have 15 different tanks for one nation, and you have 15 different tanks for the opponent's nation. Well, now you have, let's say, 7 tanks in the lower tier and 8 tanks in the higher battle rating tier. Would these tanks all be played? Well, of course not, because in the lower tier, the strongest tank, the 7th tank, can be expected to be much stronger than the lowest tank. So most people would play only this one. And in the highest tier, out of those 8 tanks, most people would only play the last or second last tank, but not one of the first 8 tanks. So you see, in order for a battle rating system to work out and to make the items and tanks and so on viable and playable and actually played by the players, you need to have different, theoretically many separations, so every single weapon can be actually played and has its purpose. Now obviously you don't want to have like infinite separations, but what you want is to have enough separations, enough different queues. By the way, queue means that people are getting queued together to sync up and play against games. So I'm going to use the word queue because the word queue is the important word here. The battle ratings are just the theoretical number how strong something is or how strong it is perceived to be, but what matters is in the end how many actual queues you have. And War Thunder, I was told, uses 10 battle rating numbers, so every weapon can be separated by 10 different numbers. Alright, this is quite a precise separation. Enlisted originally also was planned to have 10 numbers, but then for some, I guess, low IQ issues, someone came up with the idea to reduce it to 5. And my intuition tells me people weren't intellectually able to create a good, logical, balanced list where you have all of the nuance applied by applying 10 different power levels to weapons. And I thought, alright, we're gonna make it easier for us. We're gonna make only 5 battle ratings. Because yeah, this is definitely easier. This is literally like a caveman. Instead of having to draw a picture, he can just throw a stone at something. Yeah, it's easier, but guess what? It also comes with its own problems. Because if you want to distribute all the weapons to 5 different battle ratings, you're gonna have lots of imbalances. Because now you get a problem that you have to put multiple weapons, for example, multiple tanks in the same battle rating. Sometimes you have 3, 4, even 5 tanks in the same battle rating. And guess what? Currently in Berlin, for the not only in Berlin, but for high battle ratings for the Germans, you have the Tiger 1, you have 2 Tiger 2 King Tiger versions, and you get stuff like the Panther G. Now guess what? There's absolutely no reason to play a Tiger 1 if you can play the strong King Tiger version. Absolutely no reason. In real life there were many reasons, but not in the game. So this already makes one of the most famous and strongest tanks of the World War basically obsolete. Simply because there's no separation from Tiger 2s to Tiger 1s. Now with some very smart game design you can add some features that make it viable for players to play Tiger 1s above Tiger 2s. I could make a whole specific video about it, but now it's not the time because it would also go for like 30 minutes. Also, question is Darkflow actually worth it to... Would they actually implement it? Because yeah, I've noticed Darkflow only implements very, very superficial basic bitch ideas. They don't really implement any good or smart ideas. They don't even learn from other companies, because you can literally just copy the good ideas from other companies and it's legal, yeah? They're not copyrighted. You can literally just copy game balance and other things from other games if you put your own spin on it, but it's not even that is done. But that's another question. Now here's the thing. Right now, all the drafts that were released only feature 5 different battle ratings. And these 5 different battle ratings are simply not enough. They're simply not enough. There are too many, there's too much variance among power level, even in every single battle rating. On the lower battle ratings, it's not even that much of a problem, but if you reach the middle and late stages, you get so much power creep that sometimes the jump from one tank to the next is already extreme. And obviously, therefore, War Thunder was smart to have 10 different numbers, so having only 5 numbers enlisted just doesn't work. So the challenge of implementing a BR system isn't only putting the right number on a specific item, it's also having enough different BRs, and most importantly, the biggest problem of them all, having enough queues. Now this is something that led to lots of confusion. I even wanted to publish a short video about it, and guess what? If I just publish some cool short clip of some cool scene from a game, it basically takes me only 10 minutes of work. And most of it is simply waiting for stuff to upload and so on. If I want to publish a short that actually explains complicated stuff in 1 minute, it can take 30 to 45 minutes. There's a ton of work, yeah? It's much easier and faster to do a news video if you can analyze in real time. But even trying to explain the problem with queues in a short, it's literally brain damage inducing. So I'm going to explain it here in 2 or 3 minutes because it doesn't get any shorter. As a game designer, once you implemented your battle rating system, you have to choose how many queues you have. For example, let's say in theory, you have 5 different battle ratings. You can create 5 queues. So every player picks which queue he takes. And you can just give every single battle rating its own queue, and you say, alright, battle rating 1 players play only against battle rating 1, 2 plays only against 2, and so on. And then you would split all the players in 5 different queues. Now we can already say this wouldn't be that much helpful compared to the current active split of the player base splitting into 6 queues. And don't forget, it gets multiplied because you have different server locations around the world, and the players also separate them. This is the one problem. Another problem is, well, so we need to have less queues. Okay, now how many queues exactly do you have? With 5 battle ratings, one could say having 3 or 4 queues would be reasonable. And the problem currently, Darklaw only wants to give you 2 queues. Keep in mind, 2 queues is literally the minimum that you can have. Because if you had only 1 queue, the whole battle rating system wouldn't exist, because it doesn't matter which weapons you use, since everyone plays against each other. So giving the players only 2 queues is the most brain damaged thing you can do, while simultaneously still trying to sell the game as a balanced game. Yeah, so this is literally the least amount of effort a game designer can make. And here's the problem. Currently, the queues are, if you're playing, and listen very precisely because the devil is in the detail, if you're playing battle rating 1 or 2 items, you're gonna get queued against players of 1 and 2 or 3. So if your battle rating is 1 or 2, your enemy's battle rating is gonna be 1, 2 or 3. Now you may ask yourself, why the hell is there a 3? Yeah, exactly. I just keep that in mind. I'm gonna explain why, because it's complicated. So your battle rating is not the same as the enemy's battle rating. This is the thing that no one gets. Yeah, this is the complicated thing that literally the majority of players doesn't get. Your battle rating isn't the same thing as your enemy's battle rating under the new system of Enlisted. If you're playing battle rating 3, you're gonna be queued up against everyone. So your enemies are gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If your battle rating stuff is 4 or 5, you're gonna be queued against also 4, 5 and 3s. And to sum it up and to make it easier to get, you have 2 queues. You have a low level queue of 1 and 2 and a high level queue of 4 and 5. And these people are separate, but the mid-level players, they don't get a queue for themselves where they can play mid-level stuff, as literally everyone expected it to be, and as every normal game would make it. No, the mid-level people get thrown in randomly, either low level or high level. And this is just a big problem. I would absolutely say the merge is a great idea and greatly implemented if there was a realistic mid-level queue together with the low and high level queue, but there literally isn't. And this is literally the simple biggest problem right now. There is no balance in terms of mid-level, because the mid-level people are going to ruin the games for the low-level people, simultaneously, while they are going to be complaining on the forums about how they get trashed on by high-level people. Because guess what? Low-level equipment literally cannot destroy some mid-level tanks. I'm constantly talking about tanks, because it doesn't matter that much if you're playing a rifle, bolt-action rifle, or a good SMG, but it matters a lot if you're playing a good tank versus a bad tank, because the good tanks are basically indestructible by bad tanks. And this is where the biggest problems are coming up, especially since the majority of players is complaining about gray zone tanking, which already makes many tanks invulnerable. But if you have a higher ranked tank that's gray zone tanking, congratulations, it can be impossible to blow up. And yes, many of the things that usually work won't even work against them. Using planes, yeah. With bugged bombs? Nope. Using your own tanks with weak barrels? Nope. Using anti-tank guns, which they don't have power scaling right now. So yeah, also likely won't work. And using many anti-tank rifles and grenade launchers You won't even have grenade launchers on low levels. You will get anti-tank rifles, and they also won't really work on if a tank is too far away in the gray zone. So it leads to horrible maximum bad game situations if you're mixing too high power leveled items with low leveled items. And we see after this detailed analysis that the currently proposed 5 battle ratings only exist in theory. In real life, since you only have 2 queues, it's much worse. And ironically enough, if you think about it, 5 battle ratings with this 2 queue system is actually worse than 4 battle ratings with 2 queues. Because if you had 4 battle ratings, you could make 1 queue battle rating 1-2 and a second queue battle rating 3-4. They would be separate, there wouldn't be any mixing, and people could play among themselves without higher tiers ruining their day. So this implementation of a middle battle rating that gets queued up and down is just literally worse. So Darkflow actually found a way to have more battle ratings, so in theory more nuance, but turn it into a disadvantage. Yes, this is literally horrible game design. If you wonder now, why the hell does anyone come up with something stupid like that? Here's the shocking answer. This is the result of months of stupid compromising and stupid and incompetent information gathering, or more precisely said, background noise gathering. Because here's how Darkflow came to this end result, or current end result. Since the proposal, at the beginning of this year, we received, and I was very happy to hear it, the first draft of the 10 battle rating system, and obviously people complained and said, yeah, many numbers are wrong and should be better distributed to make it more balanced. All right, this is completely normal, and Darkflow, I expected, will use this and get better numbers. Or if they're really smart, just ask a bunch of people who have proven in the community that they understand the game very, very well and are also unbiased and objective and want the game to grow, especially by making it more new player friendly, and just ask them what they think, like around 5 players, what they think the numbers should be, because this, by expectation, leads to much better results than asking hundreds of thousands of people what they think, because then you get lots of background noise. Like you don't get the wisdom of crowds, you get just the background noise of crowds. Now here's the thing, some people think that if you ask enough people, the opinions will converge to something very logical and good. Now this works only very rarely. For example, let's say you're a physicist and you find an interaction among molecules and you want to calculate how exactly the molecules and the electrons in the molecules will behave compared to each other. But you don't have any formula for that. Can you just ask 1 million random people how they think the formula would look like? And then you see, oh, let's take the average of what everyone said and this will be our formula. No, it doesn't work. By the way, this was already tried. It didn't work. If this would work, humanity would be like already couple 10,000 years in the future. So this doesn't work. You can't ask lots of people about complicated technical problems and expect the average of what they say be a good solution. This simply doesn't work. This only works when you ask people about something where the average is actually something that humans can intuitively solve. If you ask 1,000 people who looks better, person 1 or 2, you can expect, or 10,000, you can expect, if these people are randomly distributed, that the average answer will be true. And if 80% say this person looks better, you can be quite sure that this person actually looks better. Or if you look at which mountain looks better, this mountain or the other mountain, and so on. This is something emotional and intuitive. And this is where actually many opinions give you a better understanding of something. But whenever it comes to technical, objective, mathematical questions, you don't listen to the majority. Because the majority doesn't understand math, or isn't objective, or isn't technically versed. If this would work, by the way, every game would do it. Literally every game studio, every game designer in the world would constantly ask people what to do, how to do balance, and so on. But they don't do it because it doesn't work. But apparently Darkflow thought it's a good idea. And here's the thing. It's okay if you're a new game studio to do this mistake once. Even twice, because yeah, people tend to repeat mistakes. But Darkflow literally did the mistake 4 times. I was very willing to say, alright, 2 times is okay, because they're gonna learn from it. But nope, they literally keep on repeating the mistake. And here's the proof. After the 10 battle rating system, after the feedback, couple months later, a 5 battle rating system was proposed. And people were shocked, but then some people said, yeah, it's just a national tech tree, it's not a battle rating system. But later we also see, oh no, there are literally only 5 battle ratings, what the fuck? And then people complained about that. And then, like 1 or 2 months ago, we got and this was literally the worst thing I've ever seen, we got the proposal of a map-based matchmaking system. I made a video about it, and literally, the video got age restricted because I allegedly said something, I don't even know what. By the way, it's literally not worth watching because the map-based matchmaking system, I just call it MapMM or MMM. Yes, the MMM system, it was so horribly illogical and bad. Even the biggest forum trolls who constantly suck schlong from Darkflow, even they didn't like it. So it just was horribly stupid. It literally was stupid in basically every way, and it was the inbred product of compromising every stupid opinion you could find on the internet. So this was, after getting possibly the worst negative backlash Darkflow ever experienced, they changed it back to the battle rating system. Alright. But here's the problem. All of this nonsense threw back the merge literally months. It cost the merge months. It cost the player base months of waiting. That's a problem. Because, first of all the work on the MMM system, that just led to, I guess, brain damage among many people who were forced to work on it. And a waste of lots of money. Well, like, most of the people were like helping and stuff don't even get money as far as I know. So Darkflow doesn't care, but it costs Darkflow lots of income and players who get annoyed and leave the game. So this one problem. And the most important problem, players who actively still play the game get annoyed because they just think, what the hell is going on? So this got removed, and now we got some new proposal recently about, once again, 5 battle ratings and this queue system that I just explained. And once again, after multiple back and forths, it's still only 2 queues. And it's already around 1 month that people demand more queues or just a finer split, finer separation of battle ratings. But the current status quo is still only 2 fucking queues, and this is a big problem. So the thing to conclude from all of that is that Darkflow lacks competent game designers. Because if you're a company working on something, you have to understand the thing better than the people you sell it to. I mean, if you need a surgery, you don't go to a surgeon who asks you how to do the surgery. If you, if you go to a lawyer, you don't want to explain to him the details of laws. And if you want to buy a game, you don't want to do any coding or any bug fixing or any game balance yourself. You want some competent person to give all of this to you so you can enjoy the time you spend with the game and pay him money for that. People want to pay money for stuff where they have to work for. Like, what the fuck? This is called work and not free time. You want to spend money for a hobby that gives you good emotions and saves you time, not that gives you more work, so you're losing time of your life. But if a game studio constantly asks players about bullshit and doesn't even learn from the mistakes and here's the core problem, a lack of competent game designers who simply know themselves the game so good that they can just make the BRs themselves. By the way, I would have never expected a game studio not to be able to put out some perfectly balanced BRs. And perfect means as good as it gets within the game system. Like, this type of incompetence is something I've literally rarely have seen in my life. Like how the hell can you work on a game for 3 years and not know the game inside out? Like, if I was the owner of Darkflow, I would force every employee to play Enlisted for 1.5 hours every day. And if he doesn't want to, he gets the fuck out. Because otherwise you can't know the game, you can't know your players, and you also need to be at least among the top 10% of players in the world, because otherwise you won't know how to create balance. But if the people don't even play the game themselves, yeah, you're gonna get bullshit like that. So you need competent game designers. This is the core of every single game. And the second thing is, Darkflow needs to stop constantly doing bullshit like that, where they ask people about something they don't understand, and then they just create background noise, and out of this background noise they try to do some alchemy and create some inbred compromise, and this inbred compromise obviously, yeah, is dead on birth, as we got already a couple of times. This bullshit needs to stop. Yeah, this bullshit just simply needs to stop. Also, this process takes so much time, it doesn't work. And for those who want some detailed explanation why this doesn't work, you can, I could give you like 2 or 3 hours detailed explanation about like hundreds of reasons why it doesn't work. The simple summary in 10 seconds is, if your information flow goes from players to social media to information sorters called helpers to Darkflow, you get distortions with every step. And these 4 steps, by the way, also have some more detailed mini steps in between. You have distortions with every step, and even if everything is perfect, even if the ideas were perfect themselves, the distortions already create big problems. So, like, if you have information flow with too many steps in between, it doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. It also creates chaos effects, mathematically speaking, where you just can't expect logical, correlated, coherent results. Like, it just creates random bullshit. So this bullshit just needs to stop. It just needs to stop, and the good ideas need to be produced in the center. Yeah, I know Darkflow is from Eastern Europe, so a bit of central planning is okay. In that case, don't worry. A bit of central planning would be much better. And for the end, a quick summary of how to solve all of the problems that we just discussed. First of all, many problems, many in-game problems, many player-based problems, and so on are going to be solved once the game actually becomes new player friendly. This is the biggest problem of Enlisted right now. It just doesn't get new players, and the few it gets, it can't retain. And therefore you get basically an inbred player base, and obviously a game can't survive like that. You just can't survive like that, and we already went too deeply into detail about that, so we don't need to talk about it. But what needs to be addressed is to specifically, while you're expanding the player base, hopefully successfully, don't fuck over the old players, because this is also a problem many companies do. Some companies they go full retard in one or the other direction. Like currently I see Enlisted going full retard into not being able to attract new players and trying to milk the old whales as much as possible. Other companies go in the other direction. They just completely neglect old players and only care about new players or new customers. But then old customers think, what the hell's going on? Are you kidding me? Like, why am I treated badly all of a sudden? like the Stalingrad buyers, who are treated like some forgotten stepchild. Like, what the fuck? It's ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. If you want to attract new players, make the game good, make the game balanced and fun to play by putting out a series of good and smart decisions, let's put it this way, and not fuck over old players. Just be generous to old players. Like the players who already spent lots of money on the game, be generous to them. Don't try to milk them. Just be generous to them. Let them feel valued. This is something many nerds online don't get in real life, so they will be very happy about that. And also, this is how you treat humans in general. Yeah, if you have a relationship to a human, you don't treat him badly only because you found someone new to talk to. Like, what the hell? But apparently some companies need to have this explained to them. So yeah, this is one thing. Also, once this step is successfully done, Enlisted needs some intelligent marketing. Intelligent marketing doesn't mean you go to PewDiePie and pay him $5 trillion to talk about your game for 3 minutes, where he clearly shows that he hasn't played the game before. Because this is literally how it's usually done. No, you do some organic marketing by going to many people, going to many little channels, and with different player bases, and show them your game. Yeah, it takes more work for your marketing section, but this is how you actually get it done. Just having one video that from a famous YouTuber who was watched 1.5 million times or whatever. Okay, it was watched 1.5 million times. How many new enlisted players did this video create? Yes, like, like I guess the average enlisted player base is like 30,000 or so. Yeah, like it simply doesn't work. It simply fucking doesn't work. So intelligent marketing, very important. Yes, marketing, by the way, is one of the most expensive parts of a company because there are very few people who actually can do intelligent marketing. Most people think wasting money on some advertisements is intelligent marketing. No, it simply isn't. Especially not in the age of social media. So the game needs to create a good, strong, and positive social media presence. Right now, it simply doesn't exist because what is the social media presence of Enlisted? Well, it's definitely not Steam-based because Enlisted isn't on Steam. It's on a bunch of big corporation-controlled console platforms where these big corporations don't even take you serious because your game is so small they don't know about it. Like this is the thing. If your game is small, do you think Microsoft or Sony takes you serious? Of course not. And obviously you won't get treated too well by them. Keep in mind, every bug fix, every feature, every new whatever is added to the game needs to be coded and adjusted and implemented to all of these 3 different platforms right now, or however many platforms it has next to PC. And this takes quite a lot of work. And to make everything synchronized to work with each other is actually very complicated. So this can be the reason why a little issue to be solved, that's solved in 1 hour on PC, can take 1 or 2 weeks to be universally solved. One of the best ways to keep players engaged with your game and especially get new players interested in your game is a good lore. A World War II game already has the biggest advantage because you don't need to invent anything, you literally have everything already happened in real life. So all Enlisted needs to do is put an interesting spin and an interesting presentation on the content of the game, and people are going to flock towards it and get engaged on social media. For example, wiki pages, fandom pages, stuff like that, where all the game items are explained. Like all the weapons, all the vehicles, all the maps, all the mechanics. Just make a little page about it and explain it. And explain it well enough and beautifully displayed enough that people want to read it. There are lots of people out there who can just, before they go to sleep, just open the page and start reading through all the weapons in Enlisted. And instead of falling asleep, they will just spend the next 6 hours with that. But yeah, the people had a good time with that. This is how you get people interested in a game, because guess what? After reading all the weapons, you will want to use the weapons. There were times when I didn't play for 2 or 3 weeks because I got bored by the game, but then I randomly thought about a specific weapon and thought, oh damn, I want to play this weapon. Like I haven't played, in the last 2 months I've played only little, and every time I started playing again, I basically played due to a new weapon. A time ago it were some sniper weapons that I wanted to use because I rarely use snipers, and like 2 weeks ago it were the anti-tank guns, which is basically all I do in the games I play since then. I try to play anti-tank rifles all day, every day, because they became my most fun weapon in the game. And they are really strong. And they are also one of the main reasons why battle rating 1 and 2 will be really fun, because the anti-tank rifles are just really good. Also, I got a video in the coming about how anti-tank rifles were used in the war. Guess what? It's extremely interesting and very ridiculously fun how they were used. And especially how important they were at the beginning. So yeah, stuff like that engages people and makes them interested in the game and makes them want to play the game and pay for the game, which is exactly what Darkfloor wants. Also, the game needs to convince and make people feel safe about the future of the game, because people don't want to spend money on something, especially not something virtual that can vanish soon in the future. All of the waiting for the merge and all of the horribly negative news posts that created more shock and distrust than calmed the people down, they were very bad for trust and consumer confidence, meaning people don't feel safe and they spend money on the game. This is a big problem. If you want to spend money on Counter-Strike, you don't need to have any fear, because you know Counter-Strike will stay basically forever. The game is already 20 years old, and it will be at least 20 more years old. Yeah, so, and all of the stuff that's even the stuff that was bought 15 years ago, you can still use it. You can still use all your skins, still use all your whatever. And most of it, I guess, even it doesn't even lose value, it goes up. If you go into any long-living trading card game like Magic, the really old stuff is still worth a lot, or even grows in value. And even if you buy new stuff, you know, alright, Magic the Gathering, no matter how many stupid decisions the head company makes, it still will be forever there. Like, there are millions of people playing Magic. Even if the company disappears, millions of people still will play Magic. So the player base isn't even relying on the company anymore, because the player base itself is self-reliant with it, because there are enough players. And the players will play the game forever because it's one of the best games ever made. The same thing can't be said about Enlisted, because Enlisted simply doesn't have the establishing. The Enlisted hasn't established itself as a long-living, stable company, a stable game. And Enlisted just has simply too much competition, because unlike War Thunder, that basically invented the type of game it is and became literally the first and biggest name, but also get into a small niche market where it isn't that much worth it for other companies to try to compete with War Thunder. Meaning War Thunder, as long as it keeps the game good enough, doesn't have to fear competition. But Enlisted literally jumped into the most competitive game market you can imagine. World War II shooter games. Yes, literally I can't imagine a more competitive market for a specific game type. It's just ridiculous. And this means Enlisted has to come up with something that's strictly better than other games, because otherwise people will play the other games. But okay, it's literally the squad system where you have bots that artificially make the matches feel fuller, and instead of playing like 50 versus 50, you can just connect 10 versus 10, but it will make you feel like it's 50 versus 50. Also, whenever you die, you basically have extra life thanks to your bots. Yeah, this is literally the only thing that makes Enlisted unique. Anything else is just, yeah, either okay or not good. And guess what? Any game out there can just copy this feature. It's definitely not copyrightable because, oh yeah. Yeah, it's just, so Enlisted has to work a lot and prove a lot to become established, so it becomes better than its competitors, and that it shows it survives over the years, unlike many competitors who died, and that it also surpasses the active big competitors. There are Battlefield games, there are Call of Duty games that also feature World War II stuff. And by the way, many of these games are actually cheaper, because if you want to constantly buy premium, and even like premium account and a bunch of premium squads, congratulations, now you spend more money on a free-to-play game than a AAA game. And you're risking losing all of this because, yeah, you don't know whether the game is going to survive or not. Also, the game needs better customization. This is something people constantly ask for, but people rarely get. The only really good customization you get is in terms of premium squads. But guess what? If a game forces people to buy overpowered premium squads in order to get some cool uniforms or some, oh, God forbid, camouflage on their soldiers, guess what? People won't take the game serious. Like, it's completely stupid, and it's also absolutely obviously bad marketing decision. If you say, alright, something that everyone asks for, something everyone would pay for, you don't give it to the people because you want to sell some random premium squads and only let these premium squads have cool fancy uniforms. This is just stupid. Yeah, this is completely stupid. This needs to be changed. And especially since basically every other game in the world lets you customize your soldiers and your weapons, and people are absolutely used to it. So if you are competing with games that have a feature and you're taking away this feature from your player base, it only means that you won't get new players, because the first thing they see is, oh, I have this new game, I like this weapon, I like the soldier, can I customize him? No, what the fuck? Why can't I customize him? What the hell? And people don't fucking like it. And the last thing the game needs is a good tournament scene. Emphasis lies on pleasant tournament scene, meaning no sweatlord tournament scene. And you get this by inventing good formats. People who have lots of experience in competitive gaming can instantly tell. I could make like a whole version how to implement it in Enlisted. You need to have good formats, meaning ways, sets of rules, maps and whatever, selected specifically for tournament play, because you can't just copy normal play into tournament play. And the rules need to be good and fair, because balancing for normal play isn't the same as balancing for tournament play. It's surprisingly, it's very shocking how long it takes companies, especially gaming companies, to understand it. I can tell you out of experience with Magic, there was a long time when normal rules, like casual playing rules, were almost the same as tournament rules. So if you wanted to play with a bunch of friends on Friday in a store, you almost had the same rule set, the same strict rules, as if you were playing for $40,000 on an official tournament. And obviously people didn't like it, because then you get some spurgy judges who start punishing random people who just spent their first day ever playing the game. And they think, what the hell is going on here? It could feel like you're in prison, because some idiot with no social skills just insults and punishes and makes a new player feel bad only because he did a misplay, because he didn't learn 100 pages of rules. So rules need to be different for casuals and for tournaments. And this is very important, and I stress this factor because I know Dark4 would get it completely wrong otherwise. Also, the presentation needs to be good. Games need to be interesting to watch. There are many online games that people love to watch. And there are many online games people don't like to watch. Like Magic the Gathering, for example, isn't interesting to watch. Like, this is also a lesson the Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast didn't really get for many years. It's simply not interesting to watch Magic games online, especially not if you're a random normal person who doesn't know the game very well. Like, everyone can watch football, even if you don't like it, it still can look very interesting. And you don't even need to understand it, it's still interesting. Same thing goes for boxing and other games. But is Enlisted actually were interesting enough to watch? That's the big question. Now, if you change the presentation, if you invent some interesting rules, some interesting ways to play the game, the presentation can become really good, and then people will actually want to watch it. For example, Counter-Strike is usually very interesting to watch because it's a series of short games, and even if the first 30 seconds are consisting of waiting, after that the action just spikes and you get extreme interesting moments. In Enlisted, it's not like that. In Enlisted, it's usually dragged out. And if your team doesn't build 20 points, it's literally 50% running around. Now, a game like that cannot survive on social media. It cannot survive on streaming because it's boring as fuck. So this needs to be done. And the last thing for this video, the game needs anti-cheat. Because right now, we've seen in the last weeks a surge of cheating. Yes, ironically enough, the less players the game has, the more players are leaving the game, it seems the only new players to get are random cheaters, because there are lots of cheating reports recently, and basically all of them are true. So yeah, the game needs better anti-cheat software, because there are lots of idiot sweatlords out there who think that, oh, I won't install a super obvious cheating software, I'm gonna install the so-called subtle software. Like some people I noticed aren't using aimbots anymore, they're using recoil controls anymore. And because Darkflow apparently isn't capable of identifying that, you have lots of people who are playing with recoil control cheats. Yeah, this is obviously retarded and needs to be changed because, yeah, I guess I don't need to explain why cheating is bad for a game. And no one wants to play a game infested with cheating. Alright, now even though this may have sounded bad, it's actually quite easy. Darkflow just needs to stop the bullshit and do some good, smart decisions, and then everything is good. Yeah, I mean, we literally can have nice things once the stupidity gets exorcised. Alright? Let me know what you think. I'm sure you're gonna have some very interesting ideas. And until next time, hopefully with the merge coming out, goodbye.